Dr. Ananda Balyogi sir for accepting our invitation as in a guest reach. At present, Dr. Ananda Balyogi sir is a director and the professor of yoga therapy in the Center for the Yoga Therapy and Education Research, Sri Balaji Vidyapeeth, Pondicherry, and he is a renowned yoga therapist in our national and also in the abroad. And Dr. Ananda Balyogi received the various award and also published various research papers in the national and the international repute journals. So we welcome you, sir, for today guest lecture series for delivering the talk on the scientific aspect of yoga. It's our pleasure. Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It is a special privilege to be sharing today, this morning, Sunday morning with all of you. And I thank Dr. Mrityunjay Rathorji for enabling this to manifest. Usually I teach for 2.5 hours, so you have given me half an hour, and I'm going to try to do the best I can. I welcome all the participants to today's session. And I request as many of you as possible to keep your videos on so that I can see you, because I like to see people who are in the meeting. When I just see a blank screen with a name, it is not motivating for a teacher. So if you are in a position to put it on, please do it. If for some reason, you feel that video will not be appropriate, you are most welcome. Thank you so much for this. So I'll go straight into the presentation, and I'll share the presentation with you later, which is based on the concept of pranayama and trying to understand where we are from many perspectives, but today focusing on a scientific perspective. I'll begin by invoking the great Guru Parampara for the blessings so that we can grow and glow in yoga. Om Tad Parampayaya Vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tanno Guru Prachodayate. Om Yoga Maharishi Dr. Swami Geetananda Giri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. So today, the focus of the day is to focus on the concept of pranayama. And when we talk about pranayama, I hope you can see my screen. Dr. G, you can see my screen there? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So today the concept is the power of pranayama. And in this, what we want to understand is that all the teachings come from the Guru Parampara. Yoga is not something that was created by American Keep Fit movement in recent years. Yoga is as old as time itself, and this tradition has been kept alive by the Sanatana Dharma culture of Bharatavarsha. It is our gift to humanity, and with the grace of the Gurus, we go forth. So what is pranayama? It is the fourth anga of Ashtanga Yoga of Maharishi Patanjali. It can often be defined as the regulation and of inhalation and exhalation. So you could say it's the science of controlled, conscious expansion of prana, which is the vital life force. Prana plus ayama is equal to pranayama. It's not pranayama, but pranayama all along. Pranayama. Pranasya ayamaha pranayama. It is the link between the body, emotions, mind, and spirit. So what is it that holds the body, the emotions, the mind, and the spirit together? What is the glue? That glue is prana. And it is an integral component of yoga therapy, acting at what we call the pranamaya kosha level. It is the physiological, emotional, subtle aspect of our existence. And pranayama could be a monotherapy, or it could be used in combination with other therapies. The classification of pranayama, according to my guru and father, Yoga Maharishi Swami Geethananda Giri, he says there are three classifications. The yoga pranayamas or adhama, these are the foundation that help correct breathing difficulties. They enable the cleansing of the respiratory system, and they strengthen the nervous system. This includes pranayamas such as Vibhaga, Bhastrika, Kapalbhati, Shitali, and Siddhkari. Now, in our system, there are about 120 pranayamas, not just the 8 classical. 120 pranayamas are discussed in the Geethananda system of Rishi culture Ashtanga Yoga. So the base, these are to make you healthy physically. Vibhaga, Bhastrika, Kapalbhati, Shitali, Siddhkari. The Samyama or the Madhyama, they are to take you inside, create Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, Samyama to manifest. And introspective means to attain sensory control. We are slaves of the senses. We have to master the senses and become masters. Sensory withdrawal, which is Pratyahara. Dharana and Dhyana, concentration and meditation through Brahmari, Pranava and Savitri. These are some pranayamas for that. And then the third highest level, the Uttamas, the Shakti pranayamas, they are for the arousal of the Kundalini, that dormant energy, a unipolar energy that enables the absolute manifestation of our potential. And this includes Ujjayi and Surya Bedana. Now, please understand, the way people do Ujjayi, Surya Bedana is only a breathing exercise. They are not doing it as a pranayama. Without the bandhas, without the proper focus on the prana, without the proper mind-body awareness, it will only be a breathing exercise. Breathing in right and out left is not Surya Bedana. It is much, much more than that. So when we say it is a Shakti pranayama, it is of a very high state. So let's get to the basic of pranayama. There are 4 phases. This is based on the process of inhalation, the process of retention, the process of exhalation, and the process of suspension. So 4 words: inhalation, retention, exhalation, suspension. And through the process of these 4 breathing movements, we are able to enhance our experience of prana, and so it becomes puraka. Just breathing in is not puraka. When you breathe in mindfully and the prana is enhanced as it flows through you, your experience of the prana is enhanced, it is puraka. When you hold it in and the prana is becoming part of you, like in a pot, kumbhaka. When you are letting that prana go out, and as it goes out, you are enhancing your experience of letting go, it is rechaka. And when you are holding out in a state of vacuum, it is called shunyaka, sometimes called bahya kumbhaka. In our system, we call it shunyaka, the vacuum state. Now, the moment you talk of pranayama and you talk of slow breathing, everybody gets scared. They say, sir, if I want more oxygen, more carbon dioxide, more prana, more energy, I should breathe fast. You are saying breathe slow. I always recommend 6 breaths per minute. If you breathe at the rate 6 breaths per minute, you are attuning your cardiorespiratory autonomic rhythm. You are enhancing the normal Mayer rhythm. The Mayer's rhythm is 6 per minute. And your cardiac autonomic rhythm is 6 per minute. When you breathe at the rate 6 per minute, you are enhancing that cardiorespiratory autonomic balance, what we call sympathovagal balance. All of that is enhanced when you do at 6 breaths per minute. Now you say, sir, 6 breaths per minute, I won't get enough. Well, look at it logically. My yoga research guru, Professor Madan Mohan Ji, he has given this beautiful mathematics. Normal breathing around 500 ml. Even that is too much. Most people are breathing 200, 300 ml. But let us say 500. Shallow is where most people are. Most people, they are so shallow, it is about 200. Deep breathing is about 1000 milliliters with each breath. So what is happening? Normal breathing, say the person is breathing 12 times with 500. The ventilation is 6,000, 6 liters. okay, per minute. Shallow, 200 they are breathing. They have to breathe 30 times to get 6,000. We are keeping that ventilation constant. And in deep breathing, when you breathe deep and 1,000, breathing at 6 per minute, you are still getting 6,000. So please understand the 6,000 is common. Now there is something called dead space. Dead space is like your income tax, that is TDS, tax deduction at source. So what is happening is every time you breathe in and breathe out, 150 milliliters will be deducted whether you like it or not. So every time you breathe in, so this person is breathing in 12 times. So 12 into 150 is 1,800 has been deducted TDS. This person is breathing 30 times, like your toll gate also. 30 into 150 is 450. 4,500, he's paying a lot of tax, okay? And look at this yogi who's breathing 1,000 milliliters with each breath, 6 breaths per minute, 6 into 150. He is doing good tax saving. Okay, so the yogic breathing is good tax saving exercise if you want to think of it that way. So what is happening? In addition to this, you look at the alveolar ventilation. Total ventilation is 6,000. What is getting to your alveoli? What is actually getting down into your system? Here it is 6,000 minus 1,800, 4,200. So this person breathing 12 times a minute, paying 1,800 ml as tax, that is dead space, is getting 4,200. This person is paying 4,500 at tax, doing 30 times per minute and only getting 1,500. And the yogi, 6 times per minute into 1,000, paying only 900 TDS, getting an alveolar ventilation of 5,100. Can you see how slow deep breathing is economical? It is economical. Your energy expended in the breathing process is less. The alveolar ventilation is more. And thus you are enhancing your capacity. You are making sure you have the energy to put into other activities. And this is why the yogic breathing, it is so important that this is understood. Otherwise, people think they have to breathe fast. The 8 classical kumbhakas, Surya Bedana, Ujjayi, Sitkari, Shitali, Bastrika, Brahmari, Murcha, and Plavini have been described in Hatha Pradipika, who also says, Chale vate, chale chittam, nischale, nischalam bhavet, yoge pamnoti, tato vayum nirodayet. When respiration is disturbed, the mind gets disturbed. See, the yogis were the original researchers. The rishis were the first researchers. They asked the question, who am I? And they searched for it. They did a practice. They said, what is the benefit of the practice? What is the experience? In yoga, you are the experimenter, you are the experimentee, you are the experiment, and you are the result. In modern scientific research, experimenter is different, experiment is different, experimentee is different, and result is different. Here, all 4 are the same person in yoga research. This is the Antara Mukha yoga research. Inward pointing, they have done. And they realized when your breath is disturbed, the mind is disturbed. The relationship between breathing and emotionality. And that is why when you control the breath, you control the mind. How do you control the mind? Not by directly. If you go close to the mind, it will run away. You have to do a jugaad method. You have to go around and do it. You cannot go straight. Seedha saadha to milta nahi hai. You cannot go and say, mind, I want to control you. So what do? You control the breath, the mind will automatically be controlled. This is the highest scientific truth found by the rishis thousands of years ago, even before modern science existed. Please understand, we are trying to legitimize the yogic finding using modern scientific tools, but the yogic science itself is the original. My father used to say, yoga is the mother of all sciences. What a beautiful understanding there is. But Swatmarama Suri in the same Hatha Pradipika warns us, through pranayama, you can eradicate all disease, but if you don't do it properly, be careful, you will generate disease. And Ajkal, people think pranayama is just some breathing exercise. Anybody can do it watching TV or whatever. I tell you, we are messing up people's physiological balance. We are creating autonomic imbalance by the way people are practicing what they are practicing. I'm not going to go into detail because That's a different topic. But it's not only the physical benefit, what we call psycho-mental benefits that the Yoga Sutra Maharishi Patanjali tells us. He says, you are blocked. You are the light, but you are covered by the darkness, by the shroud, the mala. And so you don't know that you are the light. You don't see the light because it's all packaged, Amazon delivery package. So you don't know the light. You have to open up the gift. How do you open the gift? Tatak shiyate prakasha avaranam. Prakasha avaranam is shiyate, and that prakasha, antara prakasha, becomes manifest. And your mind now through pranayama has become focused. Ekagrata has occurred. Sarvartha, the mind that is sarvartha, has become ekagratayo. That is the process, the focusing of the mind, and hence you are now ready for samyama. Dharana sucha yogyata manasaha. You get yogyata for dharana, and then dhyana samadhi will occur. When we talk of pranayama as a therapeutic tool, it doesn't require any special equipment. It can be integrated into daily life, can be done by most patients. It's not too taxing, can be taught in a shorter time, can be used with other practices. Space is not a constraint, and it is cost effective. This is why in our own center, when we do work with yoga therapy, pranayama is a very important component. But what are the limitations? You need to have comprehension. You should understand what you're doing. Otherwise, it is not possible. There has to be regularity, discipline, dedication, determination, which is lacking in all of us. That is the most prerequisite for pranayama sadhana, and lack of qualified teachers. People do 200 hours of Yoga Alliance certified nonsensical teachers training, and they don't understand even what is prana, let alone pranayama, come out teaching some asana, and this is being followed by the Indian government also with the YCB model also. I will tell you that much. We are not looking at quality, we are looking at quantity. And until and unless people understand the importance of pranayama and spread the message, we are doing a disservice to yoga. So slow rhythmic pranayamas, Sukha pranayama, Savitri, Nadi Shuddhi, Ujjayi, Anulom Vilom. These are anti-stress pranayamas. So you can utilize them in hypertension, diabetes, all these conditions where stress is either causing, aggravating, or precipitating the disorder. So anti-stress pranayamas, this is how you can remember them. Slow rhythmic. Fast pranayamas, Bhastrika and Kapalabhati, what are they doing? Activation, bronchial asthma. You know, in bronchial asthma, what is the medicine given? The medicine given is salbutamol. Okay. Salbutamol is given. 1 second, there's something happening here. Yeah, just give me 1 second. Yeah, it should be fine now. So activation, what is happening? Salbutamol, what is it? It is a sympathomimetic drug. Sympathomimetic means it is acting like the sympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system will cause bronchodilation. Hence, utilization of Bhastrika Kapalabhati will enhance the intrinsic sympathetic nervous system to bronchodilate in the person who has asthma. At the same time, because the pranayama is not only done, you don't just do the fast, you also do the slow, you will also create an anti-stress effect which will relax the person and create sympathovagal balance. This is the difference. Whereas if I give you salbutamol, it is only sympathomimetic. There is no sympathovagal balance. But when you do Bhastrika Kapalabhati, you are having the benefit on both sides. First, people who are depressed, Bhastrika Kapalabhati, lethargy, obesity. Similarly, if you go on, the Chandra Pranayama, left nostril breathing, it is relaxatory. So coronary artery disease, hypertension, diabetes, anxiety, insomnia. This is where the left nostril comes in, Chandra Nadi. The right nostril, Surya, is activation for depression, asthma, narcolepsy, excessive sleepiness in daytime, obesity, and syncope. People don't understand. There is a very good way to treat syncope, and syncope occurs because suddenly what is happening, your blood pressure is falling when you stand or something, vasovagal syncope, etc. Surya Nadi Pranayama will be able to work on that. Cleansing breathing, Mukhabhastrika, Anunasika, Kukriya, they are cleansing out the mala. And the Mukhabhastrika I will talk about in a few moments. It is enhancing your central nervous system processing. So it is very learning disorders, attention disorders, mental retardation. And we have shown it's useful in diabetes where there's neuropathy and slowing down of the nervous system. This Mukhabhastrika can help also. Cooling pranayamas, hot flushes of menopause, thyrotoxicosis, digestive disorders, pitta, heating conditions, heat exhaustion, summer is going on. You will have the heat wave in North India. So many parts of India will have the heat wave. Chronic fatigue, what is called adrenal fatigue these days. Chronic fatigue is very common these days. Shitali, Sitkari, Sadanta, they are helping. Nada pranayamas, sound-based, the Brahmari and the Pranava, for stress, for eye, ENT disorders, chronic headache, migraine. This is very useful. Sleeping, anxiety, depression. And then the Vibhaga. Now this is the base in our system. Learning how to work with the low, mid and upper parts of your lungs. Learning to work with what is called bronchopulmonary segments. 10 segments in the right lung, 10 in the left. In Vibhaga, we do low, mid, high, front, side, back. We do 9 on either side. Imagine. The yogic system knew there are 9 different segments. Only in the last few decades, we have come to 10 bronchopulmonary segment. When I was doing MBBS, there was doubt, is it 8 and 7? Then one textbook said it is 8 and 9. Another said 9 and 9. Finally, we have come to 10 and 10 in the last few decades. Only in the last 30 years, we have even come to the bronchopulmonary segment and understood what it is. Thousands of years back, the yogis have given us this capacity. You focus your consciousness, your mind, because yato mana tata prana. Where the mind goes, there the prana will flow. Yato mana tata prana is the formula here. And this is the base of all pranayama. Then we use the different mudras and we use the sound. The sound, to enhance the energy flow through the lower, mid and upper parts of the lungs. When you work with the lower part of the lung, you're working with the lower part of the body. I'll show you here. When you use the lower part of the lung, the adama, you are working with enhancing prana flow into the lower part of the body, and you are getting in tune with what is called the reptilian complex, the brainstem and the spinal cord. Similarly, when you do the Madhyam Pranayama, you use the Ukara Nada, oo, the middle part of your lungs. Immediately, some of you will say, oh, there's no mid lung on the left. There is. Lingular lobe serves the purpose of the mid lung on the left side, okay? And if you look at the bronchopulmonary segments, they are equal on left and right. But we think, oh, left side only has 2 lobes. How you can do middle chest breathing, mid lung? There are the structures within for it. It is only because of the evolutionary growth that there has been this coming together of 2 parts into one. The mid part of the body and the mammalian complex, your emotionality, limbic system. Adhyam Pranayama, the upper part of the lungs, the upper part of the body and the head and the neocortex, which makes us human. And when you bring it together in the pranava, all 3 are coming together, the low, mid and high, low, mid and upper parts of the body, the reptilian, mammalian and human neocortex are all coming together. And that is why the pranava is one of the best healing modalities in therapy. Now this right and left nostril, there's been a lot of research. Uni-nostril and alternate nostril pranayama techniques. Shirley Tellis has done a lot. We have done a lot. And it has shown changes in oxygen consumption and other things. And what we find, your right nostril is basically sympathetic dominance is what it is inducing. So right nostril sympathomimetic, left nostril parasympathomimetic. It is acting like it. So mime means to act. Sympathomimetic, Surya Nadi, parasympathomimetic, Chandra Nadi. And if you cannot do it, you can just lie down in Surya Nadi asana. You lie down on the left with right side up. After 15 to 17 minutes, automatically you are doing a passive Surya Nadi pranayama. You lie down on the right and let the left side be up. 15 to 17 minutes, what will happen? You will be doing a passive Chandra Nadi. In patients who are bedridden, who cannot use their arms, you can use this as a therapeutic modality. Surya Nadi, Chandra Nadi, Asana we call it. And it has been found by many, many studies. The Surya Nadi correlates with the activity phase of the basic rest activity cycle, 80 to 120 minutes. Activates sympathetic, increases oxygen consumption, increases metabolism, corrects the low BP. It doesn't increase the high BP. We have done study. Surya Nadi Pranayama is safe in hypertension. It doesn't increase. We have published a paper on that also. Increases the heart rate, increases body temperature. Whereas Chandra Nadi, it correlates with rest phase of that cycle, reduces sympathetic activity, increases GSR, lowers blood sugar, decreases BP. And again, I told you, Mukha Bhastrika, a yogic bellows breathing. We breathe in and then we blast out. And this technique we have found enhanced central neuronal processing and sensory motor performance. We have done work with school children. We have done work with children with special needs. We have done work with the elderly population and published numerous studies that are there out on the internet. We have done work with the Chandra Nadi, the Sukha, the Savitri, and the Pranava in people who have hypertension and diabetes. And what we found that autonomic cardiovascular rhythms are normalized, enhanced cardiac autonomic regulation, the baroreflex sensitivity. Someday I'll give a separate class on that. Baroreflex sensitivity is enhanced by the yoga practices and pranayama. Integrated relaxation and the afterload on the heart will be reduced. And there's a mild Valsalva, because when you're doing pranava, you are doing the humming sound. A mild Valsalva decreases the preload on the heart. Imagine these are the type of effects we are finding. So hypertension, diabetes, the twin trouble in India. Hypertension, diabetes. COVID is the big trouble, but diabetes, hypertension are the twin trouble which have created such a problem in our country. So in conclusion, different pranayamas have different psychophysiological effects, immense therapeutic potential in stress-related psychosomatic disorders. Can be used as a mono or combination therapy. Remember, it is not just therapy, it is not just science, it is vital for yoga sadhana. Because the ultimate goal of pranayama is to go beyond need to breathe. Shwasa prashwasa yoga gati vichcheda pranayama. Hatha Yoga calls it Kevala Kumbhaka is the goal. So pranayama is not really breathing exercise. It is much, much beyond that. Regulated, dedicated, determined practice with awareness, consciousness, and purity is important. And never forget, even before asana and pranayama come yama niyama. Without yama niyama, it is not yoga. Adhikara yoga, giving us the adhikara, making us an adhikarin, fit for the higher practices of yoga. That is where we have to remember the most important aspect of yoga is the foundation of yama niyama. And I always like to say gratitude is the highest attitude. Gratitude to my gurus, gratitude to my parents, to the divine for this life of yoga, and gratitude to all of you for this opportunity to share with you today. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I give over to the organizers. Namaste.
So we will open the forum for some questions. So Guruji, I'll unmute. You are already on mute, so you can stay online. Usually there'll be questions on the chat box. I'll read out to them, and then you can respond back to them. Yes. So
which one you want to ask?
The first one is there's a question about. Okay, let me actually start from the beginning. There's a question all over. So first question is, can you please explain Savitri Pranayama? I heard this for the first time.
Yeah. Savitri Pranayama is a specialized pranayama of our tradition. And if you Google it, Savitri Pranayama Bhavanani, you will have about 20 videos and papers on it. A very simple formula. You breathe in for a certain number, say 6. Hold for 3. Out for 6, hold for 3. So here the pattern is the held in and held out are half the duration of inhalation and exhalation. So it is a physiological pranayama, because this is how normally physiologically we breathe. Inhalation and exhalation, in between, there's a short pause after inhalation and exhalation. This is physiological. And so the Savitri pranayama enhances our physiological homeostatic balance. So it is attuning us to the energy of the sun, Savitu. The Savitu, the sun energy, is being brought in. It's a solar rhythm. And it is also in tune with our cultural context, which is Savitri, who gets Satyavan back from Yama Dharmaraja also. So Savitri pranayama is a life restoring, rejuvenating practice. And in 1980, there has been work by Madan Mohan sir and my father showing that this lowers the metabolic rate, oxygen consumption, and you go into a very deep relaxation when you add Savitri pranayama to Shavasana. So just to give you that introduction, and there's a lot on the net also.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Prem Akriti. When should we do pranayama, before or after asanas?
Well, I will say it depends on each individual. Yoga is very individualized. Now, what has happened is, because in the Ashtanga Yoga, Maharishi Patanjali, we say Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, everybody has got this impression that pranayama should always follow asana. See, these are not steps. If these were steps, they are anga, they are limbs. If they were actually steps, you should not even do asana, because you first have to work on yama niyama. Okay, so we have got into this false sense that pranayama should only come after asana. It depends on one's practice. If you are doing in the early morning and the sun is rising, you have got up at Brahma Muhurta, you start with some dhyanam. Okay, dhyanam is 7th step. Dhavana dhyana is 6th and 7th step, but you start in the morning, and what do? You start with some contemplation. Then you can do like practices like Savitri and Pranava to enhance a sense of well-being. Come into asana, come to the standing, do the Surya Namaskar, come to the relaxation, and then you can also end with another set of practices. So I will say whether it should be before asana or after asana depends on the individual, what they want to attain, what type of sadhana they are doing, and those are the circumstances which will determine it. So there is no hard and fast rule there.
Thank you, sir. The other question is from Dr. Ashish. Now, COVID is going on. So how and what way can we use pranayam at regular basis?
Very good. See, COVID, there are two issues we have to think about. One is the issue of the infection, which is then leading to a pro-inflammatory situation in our body. Okay? Think about it, pro-inflammatory. Now, all pranayama practice is anti-inflammatory. I'll tell you that much. Inflammation, take it as pitta. So think of cooling pranayamas. Shitali, Sitkari, Sadanta. They are anti-inflammatory pranayamas. So to deal with the pro-inflammatory cytokines, the anti-inflammatory pranayama, the anti-pitta pranayama, Shitali, Sitkari, Sadanta are a very good idea. Second thing, stress is worsening the condition, because stress will push down your immune system. So left nostril breathing, which is Chandra Nadi Pranayama, is anti-stress to enhance the anti-stress effect. Then, if you are doing regular slow deep breathing, Sukha Pranayama, Savitri Pranayama, Vibhaga Pranayama, you are working with your lungs in a very healthy manner. Your respiratory system, the capacity will be better. So even in COVID, if your respiratory volume comes down, your oxygen saturation will still be maintained if you have fit lungs. Now, people don't have fit lungs, so Vibhaga Pranayama. So I would say that these are the different practices that could be brought in. More than anything, I'll tell you two simple things: steam inhalation and warm saline gargles. We forget that the first defense system is the Waldeyer ring of lymph nodes in the back of the throat. We forget that this is the first defense system we have, and we are not strengthening it. We are not clearing the respiratory passage. So steam inhalation clears the respiratory passage. Warm saline gargles activates the immune system, the wall, the ring of immune bodies there. On top of that, if you are used to doing Jalaneti, please do Jalaneti. It will be a very, very good way to work on this system. So depending on what you know, you can choose the toolbox and work accordingly. And humming, nitric oxide, endogenous nitric oxide is enhanced by humming. So Brahmari, and you have enhanced your nitric oxide, anti-inflammatory again, vasodilatation. Yes.
Thank you, Guruji. Doctor, we're already 5 minutes over 10 o'clock. Should we continue with more questions because we have another session?
Yes, more questions. So we learn a lot of things. So
Sure.
it's my request to you can continue the more questions.
Okay. What is the best time to practice pranayama?
Every time is the best time.
Okay.
Because we are always looking for the best time to give an excuse that I cannot do it in the morning, so I will not do it. I cannot do it in the evening, so I will not do it. See, the problem when you say this is the best time, people say I'm busy at that time, so I cannot do it. So what I like to say is any time where you can sit and focus your mind is a good time. Now, it is important that you don't do it after food, especially after a full meal, because when you breathe deeply, you want the diaphragm to move in a very free manner. So if you have eaten and all your blood is going to your digestive process, it will not be a good time. The only thing you can do after eating is Vajrasana. Vajrasana is good after food. So it should be as much as possible on an empty stomach if possible, which is why the morning was suggested. It could be the evening also. And with some of the pranayamas, especially people who are doing the left nostril, I suggest you can do in the morning for 5 minutes, 27 rounds, before lunch, 27 rounds, in the evening, 27, and before going to bed, 27. 5, 20 minutes per day, and you have brought your blood pressure under control. We have seen it again and again. 5 minutes a day. If you're in your office, before you have your lunch break, just before you eat your food, have a nice, pranayama, eat, and then have a nice Shavasana relaxation. And you are going to be a better version of yourself at office.
Also, Guruji, there are a lot of questions on Mukha Bhastrika. So a lot of them have not heard about this also. They want you to just highlight a little bit on that.
It is a specific pranayama in our tradition. And again, if you Google Mukha Bhastrika and Bhavanani, you'll get up a lot of videos and research studies. In this, what we use is that we breathe in deep, feeling low, mid, and high, what we call Mahat Yoga Pranayama. And then you pucker the mouth in what is called Kaki Mudra. And you blast out multiple blasts. So it is one inhalation, multiple exhalation to completely clear the lungs. And what we do is from Vajrasana, we bend down into Dharmikasana. So you are compressing the abdomen, the chest. So as you're breathing out, you're blasting and you're compressing and you enhance the way you can exhale completely. Many people who are asthmatic, the problem is not they cannot breathe in. They cannot breathe out properly. You have to teach them to breathe out to empty the lung. There is hyperinflation in asthma. In COPD, hyperinflation is seen. So you have to help them breathe out. So you take in a breath, low, mid, high, Kaki Mudra, multiple blasts. And then as you come up, you're going to be breathing. So when you come up, it is like you are being born again. You have expelled all the breath completely. So when you breathe in, you're being born again and you're lifting yourself. So it is a very beautiful technique. And as I said, it is excellent to get rid of this. We have a lot of toxicity, what we call carbon dioxide toxicity, because we are not breathing properly. Inhalation is active. Exhalation is passive. Normally, inhalation is active, exhalation is passive. Hence, exhalation has to be made active in yoga so that you are correcting the imbalance. So any practice where you can exhale forcefully, you are going to correct the imbalance that is happening because you are not breathing properly. My father used to say, we are making ourselves toxic by carbon dioxide poisoning.
Thank you, sir. I will actually request Dr. Mrityunjay to unmute himself for a vote of thanks now. So that's most of the questions that we covered. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We are also request to sir many same other times you can also invite to for us more detail about this pranayam because a lot of pranayams there. So we request you, sir, next times to will learn more about this pranayam. So once again, on the behalf of this all the students who are joining the 48 hours yoga online anatomy classes. So we thank you for giving your time, valuable time, and enlightened us to the pranayam. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for this opportunity. God bless you, and may you all be blessed by your sadhana in yoga. Namaste. Dhanyavadaha.